A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. I seek refuge in Allah from shaitan, the accursed enemy. And we begin with the name of the merciful benefactor, the merciful redeemer. Alhamdulillah nahmaduhu wa nasta'inuhu wa nastaghfiruhu wa na'udhu billahi min shururi anfusina wa min sayyiati a'malina. Man yahdihillahu falyahdi lahu wa man yudlil fala hadiya lahu. Wa ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu an la sharika lahu wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluhu sallallahu alayhi wa sallam wa ba'd. Praise be to Allah. We seek His help and His forgiveness. We seek refuge from Allah, from the evil of our own souls and from our own bad deeds. Whoever Allah guides will never be led astray, and whoever Allah leaves astray, no one can guide. I bear witness there is no God but Allah, the one, having no partner, and I bear witness that Muhammad is His servant and messenger. Allah, there is no deity but He, the living, the eternal, the independent one. Rest and sleep cannot appeal to Him. All things of heaven and earth are His. Who may intercede in His presence except in accordance with His will? He understands situations past, present, and future. No one grasps any of His knowledge except as He permits. His throne extends over the skies and the earth. He feels no fatigue in guarding and preserving them. He is the highest, the magnificent. It was Ayat al-Kursi. And I greet you all today, my dear brothers and sisters, with the blessed greetings of Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Peace be upon you, peace be upon the messengers, upon our Imam worthy Muhammad and the righteous believers around the world. As you may or may not be aware, Imam Tamir asked me to speak and to give the khutbah today because he is traveling with his family. His mother-in-law has passed. Teresa's mother, so please keep them in your dua as Teresa has lost her mother, their children have lost their grandmother, and having reached such a state in adulthood with a grandmother is not something that I personally have experience with, but I understand that there's an intense closeness in the family that I feel like from what I'm seeing from them, it's almost like losing a parent for them. So obviously Teresa's lost her mother, but also the children. It's a very difficult time for them, so please keep them in dua. I know it may seem a little cliche, but I want to talk today about sharing Christmas. And to define that, what is Christmas? Literally, the Christ Mass, the Mass being a prayer. It is a prayer for Christ. And this is something that we can share with our Muslim brothers and sisters, not just our family, our friends, our co-workers, everybody in society. And as Muslims, we should share what we can with our brethren that are among the family of believers. So I'm going to read a long section of the Quran right now, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, recall in the book of Quran the story of Mary when she withdrew from her family in the place of the East. She screened herself from them for the purpose of prayer and meditation. We sent our Spirit to her, and He appeared before her as a man in all respects. She said, indeed, I seek protection with the most gracious from you, if you fear Allah. He said, I am simply a messenger from your Lord, announcing to you the gift of a holy son. She asked, how may I have a son when no man has touched me? I am not unchaste. He said, albeit this, your Lord says, that is easy for me, and to appoint him as a sign for all people, as a mercy from us, is a matter decreed. Mary then conceived him, and she isolated herself with a remote place. The discomfort of bearing a child drove her to the trunk of a palm tree, and she cried, Oh, I would rather have died and been forgotten and out of sight. Then a voice came to Mary from beneath her. Do not grieve. Truly, your Lord has opened a spring beneath you. Shake toward you the trunk of the palm tree, and fresh ripe dates will fall for you. Eat, drink, freshen your eyes. If you see anyone, say, I have vowed a fast to the most gracious, that I will not converse with any person this day. Finally, Mary returned to her people in Jerusalem, carrying the infant. They said, O Mary, truly you have brought an astonishing thing. O sister of Aaron in the family of priests, your father was not an evil man, and your mother was not unchaste. She pointed to the baby, gesturing, ask him. They said, how can we talk with an infant in the cradle? The baby Jesus then said, I am indeed a servant of Allah. He has given me scriptures and made me a prophet. He has blessed me wherever I am and has instilled in me prayer and charity as long as I live. He has made me kind to my mother and not arrogant or rebellious. Peace was upon me the day I was born and will be upon me the day that I die and the day that I shall be resurrected. That is the story of Jesus, son of Mary. It is a statement of truth about which they dispute. It is not befitting of Allah that he would beget a son. Glory to him. When he decrees a matter, he only says, be, and it is. Truly Allah is my Lord and your Lord. Therefore serve him. This is the straight way. That was Surah 19, Surah Maryam, ayah 16 through 36. This is the straightforward and purest expression of the birth of Prophet Isa alayhi salam, who was named Yeshua in Hebrew, Jesus in Greek, which became Jesus in Latin. This is the connection of faith that Muslims and Christians should be able to celebrate mutually. If we were in a Muslim majority society, I would not be encouraging this, okay? But just to be clear, in an effort to get the Ummah to connect better with our Christian neighbors, we should understand the connection of Christmas. The reality in the United States is that even though Islam is the second largest religion, the supermajority of people are Christian either by choice or by heritage. So don't misunderstand me. I am not advocating compromising or sacrificing any aspect of Al-Islam. We know that during the life of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that good relations were maintained with the non-Muslim communities via gift exchanges. It was narrated from Ibn Buraida, from his father, that Najashi, that's the Negus, sent a pair of pure black kuf as a gift to the Prophet, peace be upon him, which he wore. So he accepted them and wore them as a gift from the Christian king. Prophet said, exchange gifts, as that will lead to increasing your love to one another. Aisha, may Allah be pleased with her, the wife of the Prophet Muhammad, said the Messenger of Allah used to accept gifts and reward people for giving them. So we understand that the mutual gift exchange is not only accepted but encouraged, and that Prophet Muhammad received gifts gladfully from the Christians that he had maintained alliances with. That is why I feel it's comfortable to say that we should not shun invitations to join family celebrations, to join with close friends, co-workers, to join in the celebrations of their holiday, as long as we don't sacrifice anything from Al-Islam. We don't do anything that promotes deification of Isa alayhi salam. We should have these opportunities so that we can share our love for Prophet Isa alayhi salam, and that we love him in the proper place as a prophet. Should you go to a party if it's held in an establishment that serves alcohol a lot, like a bar? No, I think that's where we kind of draw the line. That's where we have the difference between joining our non-Muslim friends and family and sacrificing Islam. So we don't cross that line. Muslims should never put themselves into a situation that could lead to other issues. So there's no harm in joining mutual gift exchange, accepting gifts, and giving on the Eid. However you feel best in addressing the situation. What I find exciting is that we have 8 years of planning. Because starting in 2030 until 2035, Ramadan will occur during the American holiday season between Thanksgiving and New Year's Day. So we will really have happy holidays, plural, as incorporating the Muslim community. In 2033, inshallah, Eid al-Fitr will overlap Christmas itself. So if we start the planning now, we can take a hold of this opportunity to share more with the Christian community for our understanding and appreciation of Prophet Isa alayhi salam. So we can connect and share our similarities, and this can be a good opportunity for the revival of Islam in America and the rest of the world. So how do we get started with this? The first thing is we have to increase our knowledge and understanding of Isa alayhi salam, starting with Mother Mary, because she was the primary influence in his upbringing on earth. In the Quran, Surah 3, Ayah 35 through 37, then 42 through 48, the Quran speaks of Mary's origin and the conception of Isa alayhi salam. As he says, recall that a woman of Imran prayed, "My Lord, I truly dedicate to you what is in my womb as a devotion. Accept this from me. Truly, you are all-hearing and all-knowing." When she had given birth, she said, "My Lord, I've given birth to a female. Allah knows best what should be born. The male is not like the female. I have named her Mary, and I seek your protection from her and her children against Satan, the rejected enemy." Her Lord favorably accepted the girl and caused her to grow admirably. He placed her in the care of Zachariah to be raised in the temple. Whenever Zachariah visited her in the prayer room, he found her with provision, meaning food and drink. He said, "O Mary, where did this come from you?" And she answered, "It is from Allah. Truly, Allah provides to whom He wills without measure." Remember when the angel said, "O Mary, truly Allah has chosen you and purified you and preferred you over all women of the world. O Mary, remain faithful to your Lord. Prostrate in worship. Bow with those who bow. This is news unseen by you. We reveal it to you. You were not with them when they cast rods to see who would be Mary's guardian. You were not with them when they argued about the outcome of casting rods. Remember when angels said, 'O Mary, truly Allah gives you good news of a word from Him. His name will be Messiah, Jesus, son of Mary. He will be honored in this world and the hereafter. He will be among those to be brought near to Allah. From the cradle He will speak to people as well as speak as an adult. He will be among the righteous.' She said, 'My Lord, how can I have a child when no man has touched me?' An angel said, 'So be it. Allah creates what He will. When He decides a thing, He only says to it, be, and it is. He will teach him with the book, wisdom, the Torah, and the gospel.'" When we evaluate both this section and the section that I read earlier, more aspects of Mary come into shape. Firstly, when Allah says that she went into the East, this is scriptural symbolism because the East is used to signify emerging from enlightenment. This is made more obvious in the second excerpt, which states that she was in prayer in the temple, that she was in a secluded place. So she was devoted in worship and meditation because she was from the family of priests. Where the Quran describes casting of lots with rods, we know that this was selecting Zachariah as her protector, who would become the father of John the Baptizer or Prophet Yahya. The second mention of arguing with the lots and casting is actually referring to when they drew the rods for who should marry Mary. Now, there was argument about it because the rod was supposed to sprout to show who would marry. But the carpenter Yusuf had not presented his rod because he was an older man. Sheikh Wahab ibn Munabbih, who studied under the companions of the Prophet, revealed this in his writings. So we have to remember, dear brothers and sisters, the Quran is criterion. Quran Kareem is what we should share in depth. And that's what we should put our faith and trust in. We do trust scholars to evaluate other knowledge and codify what they verified to increase understanding of Quran. So one of the many miracles of Quran is that these stories of Isa alayhi salam that are in the Quran, where he is fashioning animals out of clay and breathing life into them, that he speaks from the cradle, all of these things were not part of the official Christian canon. These are from extra-canonical texts. Non-Muslims today that wish to come against Islam often say, well, Prophet Muhammad must have plagiarized these. But we know, if we look in history, these were only available in very select, isolated parts of the world. The Gospel of Thomas, which talks about a lot of the infancy of Christ that parallels the Quran, was only available in Greek and Latin until the 8th century. In the 8th century, it was translated into Irish poetry. It wasn't fully translated to English until the 14th century, and it wasn't widely available in multiple languages until just the last 100 years. So besides the fact that we know that Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, was illiterate, he didn't have access to these scriptures. As a matter of fact, the Bible itself, the canonical Bible that was decided upon by the Catholic Church, was not even translated into Arabic until after Prophet Muhammad's death. So no way could he plagiarize this because it was completely out of his access. And these are facts that we can share. When people come against us, we can share knowledge and facts, because what does Allah tell us? That truth stands out clear from error, and truth knocks the brains out of ignorance. Christians have often complained that Islam refers to Mary as a daughter of Aaron, but this is actually fulfillment of prophecy. In the Jewish texts, they declare the Messiah will be in the lineage of priests in one part, and another part says that he will be the lineage of David. In Islam, we know that Mary's father, Imran, who was of Nazareth, was part of the lineage of David, the royalty, whereas her mother, Anna, or Hannah, was in the family of priests descended from Aaron. Therefore, the Quran confirms the Judaic prophecy. This is partially reflected in the Gospels, where lineage is described in Matthew from David. Even though the lineage of Matthew connects Jesus to David via Joseph, who is basically a stepfather, it's likely that Joseph and Mary were distant cousins, because under Roman occupation, it was very common for distant cousins to marry one another to maintain the Jewry, to maintain Jewish culture and heritage, which is the same thing that the Palestinians are doing today under Israeli occupation. There is a culture of marrying distant cousins to keep the culture thriving. Why a virgin birth? We have so many prophets throughout time. Why was it important for Isa alayhi salam to be born to a virgin? Because it was necessary for Isa alayhi salam to be a prophet from the moment of his birth. This is how he was compelled to speak as an infant. This is how he was able to teach in the temple as a young boy, a young man. Our understanding of Surah 4, Surah 4, Ayah 171 of the Quran indicates that Allah sent the spirit of Isa alayhi salam, full of the word, Al-Kitab, into the purified body of a young woman that had just reached childbearing years. In 2023, it seems weird, But in 6 BC, it was very common for a 14 to 15-year-old girl like Mary to start having children. So this bypassed something that every prophet has gone through. Before becoming a prophet, every single prophet has had to undergo a unique form of purification. Purification by fire, purification by tests. One of the prophets had to wrestle with an angel to be purified, to drive, like to sweat out the shaitan. And remember that Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his heart was split open by Jibril and the speck was removed. That touch of shaitan that Rasulullah tells us about in the authenticated hadith, that when we're in the womb, the shaitan touches us. So this blot, this touch of shaitan has to be removed to purify a person to be a prophet. So that step was not necessary for Isa alayhi salam because of the purification process in the womb. So Mary was a truly innocent woman that dedicated herself to priesthood, providing a pure vessel to form a prophet, purified at birth. This is why the message of Isa alayhi salam is one of salvation via the mercy of Allah. There's never need for blood sacrifice. That was the whole point. If you know the scriptures that came before the Quran, we know that Isa alayhi salam chased the money changers out of the temple by whipping them. Okay? Most of you probably know that story. These money changers were people that were selling salvation. They were selling doves to be sacrificed, goats to be sacrificed, rams to be sacrificed. But this method of sacrifice was to kill the animal and burn it. Not meat for the poor the way that we sacrifice. The animal didn't become used by the poor, so it wasn't charity that was expunging sins. It was a meat and blood sacrifice. So Isa alayhi salam was purifying. He was fixing the problems that the Sadducees and Pharisees had brought up in the Jewish expression of faith. So the mission of Jesus was to call back to no more sacrifices, that sacrifices are to feed the poor, that charity is what expunges sins, and the mercy of Allah. So we have to understand that his message was teaching that Allah's mercy knows no bounds. It's available for anybody who seeks guidance and righteousness in sincerity from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So let us all seek guidance. Alhamdulillah, hadana lillahi wa ma kunna linatadiya lahu an hadana Allah. All the praise and thanks be to Allah who guided us to this. And never could we have found guidance were it not that Allah guided us. So continuing on our topic, let's look briefly at what the Quran describes about Jesus Christ and his uniqueness among the prophets of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Some people often wonder why I spend so much time talking about Isa alayhi salam. And it's simple. I've spent 25 years in Islam. In spite of Isa alayhi salam being the Messiah and being a highly elevated prophet, I mostly have heard the Muslims refer to him as just a prophet. And I feel that unfortunately so many Muslims in the Ummah have diminished the importance of Isa alayhi salam. This, I feel, is probably a subconscious attitude to kind of distance from Christianity. And I see that a lot with people that come out of the Christian church into Islam. I see that with people that have negative interactions with Christians. Mm-hmm. So I want us as a community to help other Muslims realize that Isa alayhi salam needs to be respected as much as Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is. Did you know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives Isa alayhi salam 7 different titles in the Quran? And I find that remarkable because you don't see that with so many of the other prophets. So he's Al-Masih, the Messiah. This is the most famous title. This is because Isa alayhi salam touched people that had illness that became healed. He was given that ability by permission of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He will return to usher in the messianic age of greatness, and that comes towards the end of days. This is according to the tafsir of Ibn Kathir. The second title that Isa alayhi salam is the Ruh from Allah, the spirit from Allah. And we see that that is something that emanates from Allah and was conceived in the womb of Mary. He is also referred to as Abdullah Mubarak. He was a servant of Allah and blessed. He was the Ayah and Rahmah, the sign and mercy. This is in 1921 of the Quran. He was also Kalima and Waji, the word and highly honored. You see that coming from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that Isa alayhi salam has this elevation. And then Ulul Azim. What is Ulul Azim? The 5 messengers, those of determination. There are only 5. Noah, Ibrahim, Musa, Isa alayhi salam, and Prophet Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Those 5 are the only ones of the prophets to be given this title, Ulul Azam. This is found in Surah 46, Ayah 35. And then, of course, Ibn Maryam. Why is this title important? Because he has the distinction of being known by his mother's name rather than his father. This uniquely identifies him. So, in the Noble Quran, Isa alayhi salam addresses the Israelites as Ya Bani Israel, O children of Israel. He never refers to them as Ya Qawmi, or my people, because he was born without a father, and therefore, technically, they're not his people. He specifying children of Israel also indicates that he specifically came to guide them. First and foremost, Isa alayhi salam's message is for Bani Israel, first and foremost. So we have to share this message in the Quran with Bani Israel. Israel, of course, the title of Prophet Yaqub alayhi salam, who had 12 sons, from which the 12 tribes of Israel originated from. Prophet Yusuf, very prominent. And then, of course, remember that Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was sent as Alamin, a mercy to Alamin, which is all of creation, mankind, jinn, all that exists. Prophet Muhammad tells us in a verified, authentic hadith recorded by Imam Bukhari that every messenger was sent to a single group of people. So that means that Isa alayhi salam is unique just underneath Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, because Isa was sent to all the collective tribes of Israel, which is a huge segment of mankind, okay? And this massive nation of people is unlike prophets that came before him. Some of the prophets that came before him were only messengers to a single city, some to a small country. And that's why Prophet Muhammad has told us that there were 250,000 messengers that were sent through all of time, from Adam until Muhammad, because some of these messengers were only sent to a small groups of isolated people. So when Isa alayhi salam returns to fulfill his role as Messiah at the end of days, that role will be for all people. And he'll reveal himself as the Messiah to the Jews. He will correct misconceptions about him from the Christians, and he will call the Muslims together in prayer. The entirety of prophecy will be fulfilled under his banner. I will say there are many scholars throughout time, including our Imam Duston Muhammad, may Allah be pleased with him, that have said the return of Jesus happened in the form of the Quran. I believe this is partly true. Why? Because we know that the word, the kitab, was sent with the ruh. So there are two parts to Isa alayhi salam. The prophecy of Jesus' return is both a prophecy of the return of Al-Kitab in the form of the Quran and a prophecy of the return of the Ruh and the person, Jesus, son of Mary, which will occur at the end of days. Jesus is the solution to the crisis in the Middle East. Isa alayhi salam was born in Palestine as a Jewish man and preached about peace and reconciliation. His return will bring about the New Jerusalem, literally the city of peace, which will bring together all the physical and spiritual families of Banu Ibrahim and, of course, the family of Adam back together. So I pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allows us to see this day. I just want to share a few more things. We're running a little bit long today, but I'll share a few more things. We'll make salat and go. But I would be very remiss if I stood in front of you today and did not remind you that Gaza has been suffering under massive genocide for 77 days straight. I know that some of you are tired of hearing about it, and I'm tired of having to talk about it, but nothing can compare to how tired the people of Gaza are in suffering through it. I saw a video just the other day that really broke my heart. There was an old man who was begging the Israeli stormtroopers not to cut down his olive tree. He said that he had tended this olive tree like a child. And to see the Israeli SS troopers just push him aside and they destroyed this tree, it reminded me so much how people who are native and indigenous to the land, like Native Americans, like the indigenous people of Aboriginal of Australia, how they protect the land. The land is their lifeblood. And that's how you can see that these Zionist enforcers are colonizers and consumers of the land because they're destroying the trees, they're destroying the land. And the Palestinians, like this old man, are begging, just save the tree. They tell us, when we try to speak, they tell us to condemn Hamas before they even talk to us. But I will tell you today, I'm telling you my feelings today. I cannot condemn Hamas any more than I could condemn Nelson Mandela and the National African Congress. When I was in school in the 1980s, my teachers were openly talking about how evil apartheid was in South Africa, while the American government and Israel funded and assisted the apartheid state. Today, school teachers are turning a blind eye to the 75-plus year apartheid of Palestine. Nelson Mandela himself said, "We know all too well that our freedom is incomplete without the freedom of the Palestinians." He openly stated that he was brothers in arms with the freedom fighters of Palestine. So I can no more condemn Hamas than I condemned the Native American warriors defending their land from European invaders. Those brave men and women who struggled against the oppressive colonizers and who faced a genocide of their own that America barely acknowledges. I could no more condemn Hamas than I could condemn the slave rebellions of Jamaica, Haiti, Wilmington, North Carolina, and many other places throughout the Americas during the centuries of oppression and chattel slavery. I could no more condemn Hamas than I could condemn the Minutemen of the American Revolution. Though they were colonizers and oppressors themselves, they were also under oppression from the Crown of England. I could no more condemn Hamas than I could condemn the Jews in ghettos who rose up against Nazi oppression. Why can I not condemn these people? Because Allah has said in Surah 2, Ayah 191, if they start a fight, you kill them wherever you find them, expel them from wherever they expelled you, for oppression is worse than killing. I support and defend the right of oppressed peoples of the world to fight their oppressor. Allah's messenger has given us ethics of warfare. We're not to harm livestock. We're not to cut down trees. We're not to intentionally kill those who are not harming us. As time goes on and the forensic evaluations come out about what happened on October 7th, we are seeing more and more proof that Hamas abided by these ethics and intentionally targeted Israeli military outposts that executed the attacks against Masjid al-Aqsa 3 times this year, and who executed raids into Gaza and the West Bank, capturing hundreds of Palestinians who are still being imprisoned without criminal charges. Not even conviction, not just conviction, not even charges, meaning they're hostages. So on October 6th, Israel had 5,000, roughly 5,000 Palestinian prisoners that were held with no trial, no criminal charges, no access to any rights whatsoever. As these prisoners were released in exchange with hostages taken by Hamas, we see prisoners having evidence of neglect, malnutrition, sexual and physical abuse at the hands of the Israeli criminals. Compared to that, the hostages kept by Hamas praise them for keeping them fed and protected, providing medical aid and treating them with dignity and respect. How many times have you seen a hostage write a thank you note to their hostage taker? But we see that from the Israeli hostages. They're writing thank you letters to Hamas for their gentle treatment, for their kindness. Meanwhile, the Palestinian prisoners come back. There was a young man that I saw, the entire side of his head was caved in because they shot at him for fun with rubber bullets. So I ask you, who is the villain? We must not back down from this fight. As Muslims, we are to fight all forms of injustice with our hands if possible, with our voices if necessary, in every chance that we get. We should be shouting, Palestine will be free from the river to the sea. You say, brother, but Congress is saying that that's anti-Semitic and we can't say that. Then I say, we say it louder. They tell us that we can't promote boycotts. We call harder. They tell us that it's wrong to boycott companies because they support Israel. Then I say we have a right to associate ourselves and our money with who we want. Let them imprison us. When Palestine is free, we don't stop. Why? Because the racist police forces of America are still here. The KKK took off their hoods, put on uniforms and badges, and we go from saying from the river to the sea to saying no justice, no peace, no more racist police. The fight never ends for the warriors of justice. Allah has not called us to be complacent. He has called on us to stand firmly for justice, no matter who it is for or against. That means speaking truth to power until your voice breaks. It means never stopping until there is truly justice for all. I want to apologize for running longer than normal today. I pray that Allah has guided me in conveying a righteous and helpful message. Anything of benefit comes from Allah alone. Any mistakes are my shaitan taking over. I just want to remind everyone that Jummah prayer starts each Friday at 1:30 p.m. sharp. Talim is each Sunday at 12 noon. There probably will not be Talim this Sunday because Imam Tamir is out of town, again with his mother-in-law's funeral. My mother, Sister Linda Bartow, has Fun Time with Muslims Club on the third Thursday of each month at 6 p.m. If you reach out to her, she can get you the access code to join that. Some of the information collected about Mary that's not in the Quran is in her book, The Emergence of God. She has a few copies here that are available. Just make a $10 donation to the masjid. Al-Muminum Masjid, the Mosque of the Believers, supports the orphans of Iredell County, so please give zakat and sadaqah generously for that. There is a strong English translation of Al-Quran on the table that my mother also worked on. Those are available from purchase. Al-Islam Global Ministries of Al-Muminum Masjid, the Believers Mosque. We are building a mosque from the ground up. We sit between I-40 and I-77 in Statesville, North Carolina. Please send your donations. If you're online, send donations to paypal.me/Statesville Masjid. And there'll be a link in the YouTube and then also here at the masjid. O Allah, I ask for your success concerning my destiny and feast with the martyrs, the enjoyment with fortunate people, and the companionship of the apostles. Victory over my enemies, for it is you who are listened to the prayer. O Allah, suffice me in my wishes and inclinations. O Allah, suffice me against anyone who oppresses me. O Allah, suffice me against those who envy me. O Allah, suffice me against those who wish harm to me. O Allah, suffice me against the last moments of death. O Allah, forgive us and the believing men and women and remove their faults and cause peace and love among their hearts and infuse into their hearts a firm faith, wisdom, and let them be victorious over your enemies and their enemies. O Allah, guide us in righteousness so that we may be a guide for others. Help us to be the best representatives to convey the true message of your prophets to the world. Help us to form better relations with the people of the book so that we may reforge the unity of the family of Adam. By your divine name we ask all of these things. Amen.